Okay, let's talk about something we all do but maybe don't think about too much. That quick glance into the toilet bowl, it's basically a daily health report from your body. So in this explainer, we're going to decode what the color of your pee is really telling you. Come on, you've done it. We've all done it. That split-second thought. Huh, is that color normal? It's a question pretty much everyone has asked themselves. Well, today, we're going to turn that little moment of curiosity into some really practical knowledge, so you can finally understand the signals your body's sending you every single day. So let's get right into it. What actually gives urine its typical yellow color? It all comes down to a pigment called urochrome. You can kind of think of it as your body's own natural food coloring. It's just a byproduct, something that's made when your body breaks down old red blood cells. And how concentrated that urochrome is, well, that's what creates that whole familiar spectrum of yellow. And you know what the single biggest factor affecting that concentration is? It's super simple. Hydration. Yeah, how much water you drink. It directly dilutes that urochrome pigment, which creates a whole spectrum of color that we're about to look at right now. All right, so let's look at the two ends of the spectrum. If your urine is pretty much always clear, you might actually be drinking a little too much water, which can sometimes mess with your electrolytes. Now, on the flip side, if you see a deep amber color, that's a classic sign you might be dehydrated. It just means that urochrome pigment is way more concentrated. But here's the key. Pretty much any shade along this yellow to amber spectrum is generally considered totally normal. Okay, but what happens when the color goes, well, completely off the yellow brick road? I mean, we're talking reds, oranges, even blues or greens. Now, before you panic, what's surprising is that the cause is often found not in some serious condition, but right on your dinner plate or inside your medicine cabinet. So this chart really shows the two sides of the coin for these unusual colors. See that red or pink tint? It could just be from the beets you had last night. And that surprising blue or green, a lot of the time, that's just food dyes or certain vitamins. What you'll notice is that for every single color, there's a super common, harmless cause right next to a potential medical issue. So the big takeaway here is pause before you panic. The first thing you should do is think about your recent diet and any medications you're taking. Okay, so we know food and meds are really common culprits, but sometimes these color changes are your body's way of sending a much more urgent signal. Let's dig into the warning signs you really shouldn't ignore. All right, let me be crystal clear about this. If you see red or pink and you can't trace it back to something you ate, like beets or blueberries, your body is sending you a very clear message. This is the one color that really demands your immediate attention. The official medical term for this is hematuria, which is just a fancy way of saying there's blood in the urine. Now, it's not a disease itself, it's a symptom. It's a sign that could point to anything from a simple UTI or kidney stones all the way to more serious issues with your bladder or kidneys. And this brings us to probably the single most important piece of advice in this whole explainer. The guidance is so simple and so direct. If you see red or pink that you can't explain away, don't just ignore it. It is always, always best to get it checked out by a professional. But color is only part of the story. You also want to pay attention to things like clarity and, well, texture. So what does it mean if your urine looks kind of cloudy or maybe even foamy? Well, this can have a few different causes. The most common are pretty straightforward, like dehydration or UTI. But foamy urine in particular can be a bit of a red flag. What it often means is that there's excess protein leaking into your urine, and that can be an early sign of kidney trouble. In some cases, it can also be linked to other things, like Crohn's disease or a condition called preeclampsia during pregnancy. And speaking of kidneys, it is so crucial to catch any problems early. So there are 3 key warning signs to watch for, and you know what? We've actually touched on a few of them already. Okay, first up, any major change in your urination habits, like going way more often or way less or seeing blood. Second, that foamy urine we just talked about, that's a classic sign of protein leakage. And third, any unusual swelling in your hands, feet, or even your face. Catching these signs early, it can seriously make all the difference. Okay, I know that was a lot of information. So how do you actually apply all this without causing yourself a bunch of unnecessary anxiety? Well, let's simplify everything down into one really clear action plan. I like to call it the 3-day rule. It's a super simple 3-step process. Step 1, observe. Just notice the change, but don't panic. Step 2, consider. Think about the usual suspects. What did you eat? Are you taking any new medication? Have you had enough water today? And then step 3, act. If that weird color sticks around for more than, say, 2 or 3 days, and you just can't connect it to food or dehydration, that's your cue. That's when you pick up the phone and call your doctor. And there you have it. That quick daily glance is so much more than just a habit. It's a free health report delivered to you by your own body. So now that you know how to speak the language, what's the first signal you're going to start listening for?